I don't know how my internet connection is. I don't think it's that good here. I do not think my internet is that great. But whatever. Whatever. Nothing really matters. My Jesus people. My Jesus people. My Jesus. My Jesus. Oh, crepes. Oh. Well, we officially have a pump and dump president. He ran a meme coin right before inauguration, made hundreds of millions, and now he's pumping and dumping the stock market, while wiping out people's retirement. Hey, what's up, Curtis? This society is just a joke at this point. Could you just imagine if laws applied to wealthy people? If corporations, who was it Mitt Romney? Somebody said they were people. The law now recognizes corporations as people. Imagine if corporations are people, and a corporation kills somebody by not having a safety measure in place or not following safety regulations. Imagine if the board members and the CEO went to prison. And again, that's what Republicans want. Some Democrats too. That's what the capitalist wealthy class want. They wanted corporations to be considered people. Citizens United. The Supreme Court said corporations are people. So then why don't they follow people's laws? Why is it when a miner who's working for a roofing company falls off and dies, the company only has to pay a small fine of like $100,000? Imagine if the fine for your life was $100,000. It's much cheaper in most situations. And that's not paid to the family. That's like a state fine. Why don't those people go to prison? Can anybody tell me if corporations are considered people in the eyes of the law in America? Citizens United made corporations people. They could give as much as they wanted dark money to politicians and bought off our politicians. So in return, the Democrats and Republicans said, yes, corporations are people. They can donate to campaigns. So if corporations are people, why don't they have to follow people's laws? Can anybody fucking explain this to me? I'm so angry. This country sucks. And for everybody that's watching later, or some other person is going to go, why don't you move? I can't move. It's too expensive, and nobody wants Americans right now. Plus, I want to fix this country. It's so funny that like leftists, the people like myself who are like, we want healthcare for our taxes in return for our taxes. We want a minimum wage where people can live and go on vacation for that wage. Nowhere can you even rent. Never mind buy. You can't even rent a home for a minimum wage across America. I want you to be paid better, have better access to healthcare, not have to deal with insurance. So all you people that are going to poo-poo on me, just shove it. Just shut the fuck up. The reason when there's mess is because you got duped by wealthy people who don't have to pay attention to the laws or just pay a fine and then they go on free. Can anybody explain? Anybody? Can anybody explain if corporations are considered people in America by Citizens United, why don't they have to follow the laws that people follow? Why? It's like this pump and dump president. I saw someone sharing a meme that said Martha Stewart went to prison for much less than this. Marjorie Taylor Greene buying a lot of stocks. Marjorie Taylor Greene is worth $21 million. How is she making that money in service of her people? What's up, Logan? Good to have you back. Even though, you're very sadly taken advantage of by these wealthy people. A lot of Americans are, But I know people who have lost a lot of money in their retirement. Retirement means you worked your entire life You should be able to enjoy that. And because the pump and dump Donald wanted to fuck around with everybody. By the way, we still have tariffs. I just see my tax guy today. I love him. He's so funny. He goes, don't worry, you won't have any more taxes because of the tariffs. I said, come on, man. You know the tariffs are a tax on the things we buy. He goes, hey, don't start thinking for yourself now. He said they want serfs. That's what my tax guy said. Tax guy said, this regime wants serfs. What's up, Solus? Oh, I appreciate that. Appreciate you switching to the mod account. I was just thinking, Curtis and Solus, I gotta get to a computer so I can make your other accounts mod accounts, and Curtis's account a mod account. I don't know if you've seen, I just read earlier, I've been out doing stuff, but the Republicans enacted the SAVE Act, which who gives a shit? All these acronyms are just misleading. They're for dumb people to go, oh, SAVE Act. It sounds like it's going to save America. It's not. If you're a woman who got married and changed your last name, good luck trying to vote. Good luck trying to vote. Because with this bill that the Republicans push through, it makes it harder to vote. Here's the thing. It's a very simple a very simple critical thinking test you could do. If they say we want Americans to vote, we want to make it safer for them to vote, the first thing anybody would do is go, it's a national holiday. Nobody has to work. That would be the first thing, to make sure everyone had access to voting. Nobody had to work the overnight and had to sleep the next day because they had to go back to work in the afternoon. They would ensure that it was a federal, nationally recognized paid day off. Okay? That's just simple fucking common sense if they really wanted Americans to vote. But Donald Trump, Elon Musk, the Republicans, they don't. They don't, because this new bill passed, the SAVE Act, I hate how they call it shit like that, is going to make it harder for everyone to vote. Unless you have access to your birth certificate or you have a passport, which in the articles down below that I linked, apparently out of the, again, rough numbers, because I don't exactly remember, but they said, last election, 153 million people voted. They said, just for reference, about 146 million Americans do not have a passport. So hopefully those people have their birth certificate. But if you don't, it's hard to go back to the town or get in touch with the town that you were born in and get all that stuff. But it's just more nonsense, because just a couple years ago, if you don't know, they made the real ID. They made every state get a federally licensed real ID. They called it a real one. So you could still get the state one, but they said after, I forget what the year was, a couple years ago, they said after this date, everyone needs to have a real government ID. Maybe you have one, maybe you haven't got yours yet. I would suggest, because I think you need one to fly in this country. So you'd think, just make the real ID good for voting. But no, this new law says you have to have a passport or a birth certificate to vote. Purple drank God. You should read what they passed today, because mail-in voting has changed. All the voting has changed. And I'm against having things making it harder to vote. I'll say this again if people are just joining. If people really wanted Americans to vote, the number one thing they would do is make the second Tuesday in November a federal holiday, paid time off, and give everyone access to it. But then when you consider what Republicans and what this regime, Trump, is doing with gutting all of the state funding, holding it at ransom, they're gutting the federal departments. When you consider that they're laying thousands of people off who work in the government, but then saying you need a passport or a birth certificate, you need to go see a government building to get these things. So they're saying we're going to fire everyone, make it harder. They're getting rid of the phone numbers, they're hacking the systems, they're crashing the websites. So they're gutting the government and then saying, but you need the government paperwork. There's a couple articles I linked down below. It's state by state. The people who consistently kick voters off rolls are the yes, 100% Bandito. Good to see you, by the way. but it was just passed today. I was just reading it a little bit earlier when I was in between errands, and I couldn't believe it. I could not fucking believe it. Because now, if you don't have a passport and you don't have your birth certificate and you want to vote, you need to go and get one of those. Or what really pisses me off is this is really like this is just kind of another attack on women. You know, Republicans are wicked misogynists. And one of the articles explains that because you'll need a birth certificate to register to vote, if you got married, if you were a woman and got married, or if you were a man and took took your wife's last name, or whatever it is, if you got married and changed your name, oh, you're gonna have a fucking hard time. You're gonna have a hard time. And from the article down below, it said 69 million women have taken their husband's last name in America. So, I mean, they're just trying to make you jump through hoops. Why? Well, you know, what's going on isn't very popular. The eradication of due process, the just trust me bro of the economy, a pump and dump Donald. I mean, that's just what he is. Welcome, Stephen. Everybody has the ID to do almost anything now. We're not talking about an ID. We're talking about a birth certificate, which, if you don't know, your birth certificate does not have your photo on it. I don't know how it's proof of your birth, but, you know, I guess the birth certificate is the one that was the difference maker. And don't think it's going to stop here, folks. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It reminds me very much, and I wasn't alive for that, but it reminds me of Nixon criminalizing the war on drugs, criminalizing weed. Even though they knew it wasn't a Schedule I drug. Cannabis has never been as dangerous as heroin, but they made it a Schedule I. It reminds me of them sentencing people to crack cocaine much harsher than regular cocaine, powder cocaine, because again, it was racism. Crack used in the inner cities by a lot of blacks, they could lock, you know, a lot of people that they felt were not going to go along with their agenda, whereas they knew all their kids and most likely most of them. George W. Bush, or was it W? George Herbert Walker, and then George Walker Bush, loving the cocaine. Donald Trump Jr., you know, they don't want him to get a heavy sentence, but the black kid down the street, they don't mind. It just reminds me of that, you know, to go after people and make it harder to jump through hoops to vote. And again, in case you're just the longest war the United States have been fighting. And not only is it that, but it's a losing war that was based on nothing. Because if you know anything about cannabis, cannabis is a medicine. It's like saying this is the war on ibuprofen and iodine. Fucking dumb. And it was all out of racism. I encourage people to look up the history. Renzo 444444444. Apartheid. Play games with ideas, medical cards, jobs. But this new voting act to, you know, make it harder because a woman got married and took her man's last name or took her wife's last name, to make it harder for people that took someone's last name in marriage, which I thought Republicans were all for, to make it harder for them to vote is not fucking it's just misogyny. They're just trying to purge the voting rolls right now. They know they're not popular. Listen, there's a lot of people, and Donald Trump especially understands it. Like, he was fucking with trillions of dollars. Even though he did that pump and dump yesterday, and some of it came back, and then again, the stocks tumbled. If you listen to people who study this stuff, they will tell you the volatility is made Donald blink, as everyone was saying. I hate that. No, they made him cave in to Wall Street. He was like, oh shit. You know, once you start messing with that big money, it becomes a whole different ball game. And I say good. That was the only thing I was fucking happy about. It sucked because I know people whose retirements were getting wiped out, but good that he's fucking with the people, the wealthy people who spent 270 million. Elon Musk spent $270 million to get him elected, and Donald Trump wiped out a ton of his money. I said, good, get a taste of your own medicine. Dave Barstool Sports said, crying about losing 7 million. F you, you could afford to lose 7 million. How much harm have you enacted in our communities by supporting this guy, by interviewing this guy? I mean, it's good that they're getting a taste of their own medicine because they invested in Donald. Why? Because they thought he's only going to go after the working class. He's only going to hurt them. He's only going to gut their Social Security, their pensions, their retirement, their Medicaid. We don't use any of that. We have enough money, so we don't have to go buy that stuff. And they thought, we'll invest in the guy who's going to protect the wealthy. Dave Chappelle said this years ago at the end of his first monologue on this, or maybe it wasn't a monologue. Maybe it was one of his stand-ups, when he said, Donald Trump ain't out there. He said, it's so funny to me, these white working class, white trash people in the Midwest where he lives in Ohio that are supporting Donald Trump. He's like, Donald Trump doesn't have your interest in mind. He has mine. He has mine, a wealthy person's interest in mind. And he has no regard. I mean, all you got to do is know somebody affected by it. And what is happening is people are getting affected by it, you know? Ben Shapiro, Barstool Sport, they're starting to be affected by it, and then they're starting to question if the guy who bankrupted casinos is good at economy. He's not. And by the way, he didn't write The Art of the Deal. Donald Trump kissed the wall and fell in love with Israel. Yeah. That is true. 270 million to Elon Musk is like losing 1,000 in Vegas to me. I would even say it's less, Jacksonville kid. You got to remember, like, Elon Musk is worth billions. So, and again, worth, not cash on hand, just gets to levy that money against loans. But I would say, Jacksonville kid, I don't know how wealthy you are, but let's call it like $500. That's like you throwing $500 at something that you know, not even Vegas, that you know is going to come back and give you, you know, $10,000. But the funny thing is when you put that $500 investment in and you end up losing $1,000, and you did it all in spite of other people to harm other people. That's the hilarity of it. But it's hard to even enjoy that moment. Like, I love seeing the memes. So the red wave, and it was all the stock market drops. It was a huge red wave of stock market prices going down. Like, that shit's hilarious, but you can't even enjoy it when you know people who are telling you, I just wait for death to come. People in retirement that are like, I can't even retire. I'm never going to retire anymore. They worked their whole life. They worked their whole fucking life in service. I'm talking about cops, teachers, in service of their community. And they're like, I just wait for death to come. My retirement's fucked. I have to keep working. Like, these are people who spent their life working, Americans that spent their life in service of others. And they're like, I don't know, I guess I go back to work and just be fucking miserable because some rich entitled brat wanted to fucking tax us on our goods and call it tariffs, and half the country's so fucking dumb. They're like, yeah, he's gonna get rid of the income tax and make all the money from tariffs. You fucking dummies. Tariffs, whatever it is, right now it's all 10% except for China, which is over 100%. So whatever you buy from China, let's say it's a Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo's out of China, but they announced the Nintendo Switch was going to be $450. Well, now it's over 100% markup. So now you're going to pay about $1,000 for that item from China. And that's how they fucking get you. Oh, it's so angering. People don't deserve this. Working people who spent their life working, opposed from Donald Trump. Thank you, Poop Balls. Weird sentence I just said. Thank you, Poop Balls, for saying Drumpf. That's his true last name when his family migrated from Germany. But Mr. Drumpf never had to work a day in his life. And if you think that, fucking God, it must be nice to live in La La Land. His dad, Fred Drumpf, was a corrupt real estate guy and set Donald up very nicely. He's never really done a hard day's work in his life. If anything, he's a scam artist. And he's got a lot of horrible businesses that failed. That's why you don't see Trump water at the grocery store, Trump steaks. That's why you don't fly on Trump Airlines. That's why you don't go to the Trump Taj Mahal on the Jersey seaside. That's why you can't attend Trump University, because it was a scam. I don't know if you're still holding your Trump meme coin, but that fucking bottomed out on you. And now here they are, trying to make it much, much harder for women who got married to vote, or anybody who got married and changed their last name. Nintendo is made in Japan. Thank you. That's what I figured. That's why I said Psycho 69, the OG mod. I was just throwing that out there. I didn't think it was made in China. I was giving you an example. Jesus Christ. Fuck, man. Get with the program. I didn't say that's where it is. I even said, like, I don't think it's made. I figured, well, the thing is I know it's made in Japan, but some of the parts, what I was reading the other day, they said some of these pieces are coming in from other countries like China and I forget where else. Again, I have no literature in front of me, but just understand what I'm saying. If you're going to hold me to a fucking comma where there shouldn't be a comma, then you're not part of this conversation. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about our society absolutely being fucking devastated. And if you're like, well, it hasn't affected me, or if you're a retard like the fucking Barstool Sports and people like that who are like, well, I only lost 7 million, but trust in Trump. And there are people saying that. Forgive me for the R word, but I've fucking had it, man. When I have to hear people I love tell me, like, I just wait for death, you know, I can't stop working. I retired and I have to still work. All because of some rich dude that doesn't understand nothing. Like, he really doesn't. His slickest thing is just being able to listen to himself talk and break stuff down for like third graders. And that's JV, a more compassionate job. I want to ask you, oh, see, this is what I hate. Psycho 69, the OG mod, which, by the way, I like your name. I want to ask you a question. Do you think Democrats could do it better? Here's my thing that I find myself repeating a lot on my live stream. By the way, I don't think I've said hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, do all that stupid YouTube shit. Does it even matter? Does anything even matter anymore, folks? I mean, when the most vulnerable of us are suffering so badly because there's rich people that are just fucking around and don't care about you, but then tell you like, oh, I was the greatest president in the history of the world. Like, God, it's just so fucking irritating. Here's the difference. I don't like the Democrats. I think they, like somebody said, they're more compassionate, but they're part of the establishment. This is what I don't get about Trump people. Trump people are like, oh, the deep state, the establishment. And now he is the establishment. And they're like, thank God for the deep state, the establishment. It's like, fuck people. Just have some kind of backbone. Just have some kind of fucking moral ground. Stand for something. You know what I mean? Stand for something. And my thing right now is like just compassion, empathy. That's what somebody else said. I think the Democrats wouldn't be gutting Social Security, a thing that they take out of my check every fucking month, that they take out of your check every month, every week, every bi-weekly, whatever you get paid. So when you go to retire, you have that. And Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, is calling it a pyramid scheme, a Ponzi scheme, whatever the fuck I don't care. But I don't think the Democrats are the solution. I think us, and this is why I do this live stream, because I don't give a shit if you're a Republican, if you're a maggot, if you're a Democrat. I care a lot if you're a leftist, because we need more of us speaking up. I guess you would qualify me as a leftist. I don't know. We need more people to, and this is what I was saying to my wife earlier. Sorry, I'm not reading the comments. I'll try to go back in a second. But I was saying to my wife earlier, I said, when people give me a hard time, because if I'm out in public and someone mouths off about some shit, I feel like a duty to just I'm not starting stuff, but to correct it and not let bullshit stand, because if people are just mouthing off and saying wild lies, we're saying like how this is good for whatever, when people are like really suffering, like I feel just a fucking patriotic duty to be like, this bullshit, man. You're harming our community. Just like when I try to start a union, I'm like, the CEO of Starbucks get paid $100 million in 4 months. He gets to take a private jet from Southern California, his home, to work every day. Meanwhile, they're busting my balls about being 6 minutes late 3 months ago. And if he doesn't show up to work, fucking nobody notices. And if you're going to say, oh, he's the CEO, he deserves to get paid that much, he got paid more than the Google CEO. And in 4 months, you can't prove that you've done a good job. I could see incentives. I could see no, I can't see anyone getting paid $100 million to run Starbucks. And just so you know, also the last CEO who tanked the company got an $8 million sign-on bonus. That means they paid him $8 million just to fucking sign his name to the job. So they don't care. They'll throw around that kind of money. But we need more people. Like, I don't think the I've said this before. This is my easiest way to sum it up. If we voted for all Democrats, they're not giving us universal health care. The reason I like Bernie is because he's not scared of the fucking establishment. He's not scared off to say healthcare is a right. Get rid of the pharma lobby and the insurance lobby. Get rid of them. He's not scared to say, which, by the way, folks, I wrote Doreen, who's in France. We need to understand, like, why Canada doesn't want to be part of America, because they have a national healthcare system. Why most of the world looks at the US and they're like, poor suckers, they pay so much for worse health care, and their life expectancy rates are declining, even though they pay the most in the world. We don't get better service, which in any other situation would just be common sense. You'd be like, this is revolting. We need to do something. So I don't think the Democrats are the solution. I think the solution is this: people organizing. Just so you know, if you don't know, this is organizing. Organizing is talking to people, finding out what their complaints are, addressing those complaints, and saying we could have it better. That sums up being a labor organizer very, very simply and under-explained. But truth be told, like, this is what we need to do. We need to have people that are willing to go like, yeah, is there a potential fix? Because I'm sick of people telling me to leave the country. Fuck you, people. Number one. But number two, like, America's whole thing was like, if the government becomes tyrannical, our duty is to fucking put them in check. And those people, like, love to do it when it comes to January 6th. They want to bring a Confederate racist flag into the State House. But if I'm like, I want you to have health care, I don't want you to go into medical debt if someone you love gets cancer, then they're like, oh, why don't you leave the country with that socialist talk? It's like, you fucking dummies. But it's just proof of, like, people are willing to do anything to hurt themselves if they think it will hurt people they don't like. All right, sorry, I'm not reading the comments. I believe people should come to this country because what the American dream is about, and not illegally. News today, look it up. The people that Trump claimed was an MS-13 gang leader, they've dropped the charges. They don't have proof of it. Another person that was flown out of here they said they were the Venezuelan gang, and they sent them to El Salvador. Again, if you're, here's the very common sense baseline argument to that. If you don't want murderers in the country, you should still care, because this isn't your argument. You should still care about, what happens after the process, the due process of those people. Why? Because without due process, you can't prove that they're murderers. You're just going on a trust me bro government, a trust me bro regime. But you should still care, like, we should still have the decency, as Sam Cedar said, if you call them a murderer and have no proof, and you give them no due process, then who's the bad guy in that situation? Because you're denying them of due process. Those people that are alleged, no proof again, no conviction, no judge, no jury, nothing, are alleged to be murderers, didn't give that person due process. So if everybody just removes due process, then who is the good guy? Who? Because what we're finding out now, and again, just look this up. I wasn't gonna. I listen to Sam Cedar. I listen to Hassan. I listen to some more news. I listen to Yugopnik and Second Thought, and there's a ton of stuff you can listen to. And what I would suggest doing, Daily Show, the funniest part is watching Fox News. It's hilarious to listen to Jesse Waters. And I mean, these people have no spine or no fucking any kind of morality, because you can watch Jesse Waters cheering along the Doge layoffs. And then in his show, he goes, oh, well, I got a call from a friend who wasn't DEI, even though he was. If you're a disabled veteran, you're DEI. He says, you know, he was a veteran and he got laid off. I think he claimed it was like the new hire thing. And then Jesse Waters himself on Fox News was like, we gotta calm down, and, you know, with this cheering on the layoffs. It's like, fucker, you were the one cheering it on. We're the ones saying, like, have some compassion. Have you ever been laid off? I have. And when you get laid off, that sucks. Your whole world is upended. So I don't think the Democrats are going to fix anything, but I don't think the Democrats want to restrict women and anybody who doesn't have their birth certificate or a passport to vote. And it's like, this is simple stuff, guys. The government made us get a real ID. Why not use that? If they really want people to vote, then they'll make the second Tuesday in November a federal holiday, a paid time off, so everyone at least has access to. And then you can, you know, use some time to go and invest to get your birth certificate or a passport or whatever you're going to need, whatever hoops you're going to have to jump through. There's a big demographic that is complaining about illegal undocumented immigrants, but one demographic that supports this Cuban is the Cubans. You don't hear them complaining. What do you mean, Jacksonville kid? Sorry. Generic YouTuber. I don't. I don't know if that's like a hateful comment, but like that. I'm struggling right now. I'm struggling right now because I can't tolerate this stuff. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm Rob. I do news commentary. Today, the Republicans passed the SAVE Act, which now, if you got married and you change your last name, it's going to be much harder for you to register to vote. You're going to need a birth certificate or a passport. Your ID does not matter anymore, even if you went out of the way and paid more for a government real ID. And most importantly, just remember what they're doing to the federal government when you need to utilize some kind of part of the government, whether it's, you know, your state got defunded because Donald Trump withheld the funds, or the funds just aren't there, they magically disappeared by Doge. Just remember that when you're going to get your birth certificate, or you're waiting in a longer line, or you're trying to do something, because it's like, you gotta look at this stuff, folks. It's not a coincidence they're decimating and laying off thousands of people, and then they're saying, oh, you need to use the government to vote now. They're doing everything they can. Why? To consolidate wealth and power. Cubans go through the process legally to become United States citizens. You know, Cubans, when they come here, Jacksonville kid, I highly encourage you to look up Cubans coming here. They're given a green card, they're given health care. They're basically, as soon as a Cuban comes here, they're basically given citizenship. And they've done that as part of, you know, the basic fucking sanction on Cuba. America hates Cuba, hates that it's socialist, and it's basically survived despite the U.S. trying to cut Cuba off from every kind of ally it could have. So when Cubans do come here, they're given almost immediate citizenship. I would look that up, because it's not like coming here from Mexico, or it's not like coming here from another country. And Jacksonville kid, ask why. Why do you think? But also, with that said, I think Donald Trump, I know I saw something about him wanting to go after Cubans and revoke their citizenship. So I even think like this is what I mean. It's like, guys, if you thought, the funniest stories are like the people who married an immigrant. There was a story about this white guy who married an immigrant, which I don't think he liked her anyways, because she got deported, and he was like, well, she's married, she's here legally. And he was like, but I'm okay with it and I still support Trump. And I'm like, that's a guy who like couldn't have gotten married otherwise. That girl married him probably for the fucking green card. And now he's just like, yeah, whatever. I still support Trump. But it's like, if you think they were just going to come after the criminals, I got news for you. Like 75% of these people that they're deporting and they're going after aren't criminals. They have no criminal record. They're not murderers or whatever they're saying. And it should bug people that they're not like giving evidence. They're not allowing due process to take place. If you have nothing to hide, you gladly would like to go through due process. So I don't know. But so just be aware, you know, this is the other reason I do this live stream. Be aware that now, if you want to vote, which our election's going to matter anymore, you know, billionaires are all over the government and they're tanking the economy just so they can hold people hostage. We have a 10% tariff on everything, so that means the price of anything you purchase in this country that comes from another country is going to go up by 10%. They're just whittling out the middle class. The best thing we could do is organize. We can get together. We can build community. Instead of bolstering immigration courts to make the citizenship process faster, we're violating the Constitution, civil liberties while creating more work. 100% bandito. And that's the thing. It's like if they wanted to make government more efficient, they'd fund it. They would let the inspector generals, the people who investigate it, they would fund that and say we need to weed out, you know, the bad egg. I mean, they would do more than just say we're going to lay everyone off. And my question to Elon is like, with that money you're saving, where is that going? Because I keep hearing about SpaceX getting billions in contracts from the government. Billions of dollars in contracts, but I don't hear about like where the money from laying off all these people is going to go. Like, what is that getting invested to? Where is that money? Because that money still exists. That money is still allotted. Where is that? It's weird, you know. It's weird that they have been wrong on so many things, that they've been proven liars on so many things. Blanket pardoned insurrectionists. They did. They did. They did. And yeah, just bring your sources, man. Like stuff I'm planning to talk about, you could read about the SAVE Act. I put some links down below. Donald Trump doing a pump and dump, link down below. I shared a post that CoffeeZilla made a video about it. And they're bragging. You know, remember Martha Stewart went to prison for insider information when she traded. And Donald Trump was in the White House saying, there's a clip of it, saying, this guy made $900 million, 900 million, almost $1 billion, saying this guy made this many million. And I'm like, bro, you're bragging about wiping out regular people's retirements and your rich buddies who could afford to buy really low. And then you told them, buy now. And then you released the tariffs. Like, you're bragging about rigging the economy for really wealthy people. You're insiders. Like, everyone should be against this. Everyone should be against like them robbing Main Street to serve Wall Street. He is the anti-Robin Hood. Oh my God. We got to do something. We got to come together. We got to come together. Bandito, it's good to see you. Thank you for being in the chat, the live today. All right, guys, I will be back tomorrow. It's just hard when, you know, there's people, some people I don't even know. There's people I love that are really affected, but there are some people that like, they're suffering, man. And how in America? Child poverty. Poverty in America is like higher than any other industrialized first world nation. And people are like fucking supporting a guy who's robbing even more of Main Street, putting more people into poverty. They're cheering on the guy who's laying thousands of people off. Those are real fucking people, man, that now have to figure out, like, well, what do I do from here, you know? Taking people out of retirement, like, that is such scum and villainy. CJ, what's up? Well, just imagine if there were laws for rich people. Again, I asked this question at the beginning, and still nobody's answered it. If Citizens United in America said corporations are people, then why aren't corporations held to the people's laws? Why aren't we putting CEOs and board members in prison when they're convicted of fraud or they their employees die, or why are we not holding these corporations who are people to the people's laws? Good vibes. Wisco Nighthawk. Good vibes. Always good vibes. Well, I hope you're doing well. I hope this hasn't affected you or anyone you love, but it's going to be harder and harder to find out who hasn't been affected by this. But it bugs me too what they're doing to the voter registrations. The new SAVE Act they just implemented. Need a birth certificate or a passport. And if you got married and changed your last name, you're going to have a tough time. Large Madge got paid. Large Madge. All right, guys. Start a union at your work. Talk with people. And remember, to all the people who say, it doesn't matter if I have a job, Hunter. What does that qualify as anything? I love America. How much money do you have? Because that's how much I value your words. Do you have a job? You lazy bum. Why should we listen to anybody who says your taxes should pay for your health care? Your taxes shouldn't go up. We should tax wealth. We shouldn't let kids go hungry in this country. What are you, jobless? You bum. Shut your mouth. I like to listen to the wealthy guy whose daddy gave him all his money and who crashes the economy and who robbed and decimated more people. My favorite thing was like, we should listen to Trump and listen to Elon and Joe Rogan saying, you know, we gotta look at how Elon's sorting out this fraud. I'm like, Elon, the guy whose brother dumped all his Tesla stock because he had so little faith in Elon with his money. Elon, the guy who Tesla board members dumped their stock months ago because they were like, yo, this company is toast. Elon, that guy? But they love. A ton of people on the internet complain about during work hours. Hunter, how old are you? Jesus Christ. With a name like Hunter, you can't be that old. But let me tell you something, youngin'. Work hours were from the 80s and 90s. Now people work all fucking times of the day and weekends too. There's no such thing as work hours anymore. Work hours, that's maybe you are old enough to be some, I just don't know many people from the fucking 80s that are named Hunter. But I'll tell you what, work hours, 9 to 5, that's not a thing anymore. Especially for anybody who's just trying to fucking survive. Anybody who works understands there ain't no thing as work hours. But yeah, CJ, you get it. Elon the genius. He's so smart. His own brother and his board members all said, fuck this, I'm selling all my Tesla stock. Look that up, Logan. Octua spit shine those boots onto Bandito. Oh. All right, guys. CJ, love you. Bandito, love you. Good to see you guys. Logan, I'm glad you came back. Always good to have you back in here, Logan. I know you're a big Elon bot, but we're gonna get you hooked on the hopium that he ain't the answer. Okay, we're gonna get you out of that. We're gonna deprogram you, Hunter. He catches rockets. 25 years old. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you could call it a 9 to 5 all you want, Hunter, but 9 to 5 isn't a thing anymore. You even said it before you said 9 to 5. You're like, my work hours are crazy too. Yeah, they're making us all fucking work crazy hours. You think, since Trump's been president, has he said anything about making a 4-day work week? There are countries doing that. Look it up. England, London, a bunch of corporations took part in a 4-day work week, and they found out that, oh, their employees produced better, they were better rested, they didn't have a high turnover rate, and they said, we're keeping the 4-day work week. Is Trump doing that? No. I mean, there's nothing for the working class, the main street here. M, what's up? Love you. Not a fan of the current admin, but for different reasons. Good. Well, whatever you're not a fan of them for, I'll fucking take it. We need people to reject fascism. We need people to reject their anti-American fucking regime where they're like, we don't need due process, trust us, bro, we'll tank the economy, and then we'll be bragging about our rich friends making 900 million while the people who are in retirement lost most of it. Some jobs aren't, well, the 9 to 5 thing, I got what he was saying, is the 9 to 5 is just the language that we use, but there is no 9 to 5 anymore. And I mean, as soon as cell phones came into play, 9 to 5 disappeared. You know, that's really when we lost it. As soon as a boss could fucking get in touch with you anywhere, and you couldn't call in sick and be at the beach, and he'd be like, "Is that a seagull in the background?" You're like, "Yeah, came to the beach for my cold. They said it would make my lungs better." Love you, Em. So glad you come and stop by. It's amazing. Amazing, amazing. I'm gonna go listen to some Nirvana. Think about the good old days when Kurt was still around. By the way, Jesse Wells, if you know him, he did the "There ain't no you in United Health, there ain't no me in the company, there ain't no us in the public trust, there's hardly humans in humanity." He's the new folk singer. If you don't know Jesse Wells, check him out. I saw him do a cover of was it Heart-Shaped Box? Yeah, I think it was Heart-Shaped Box. He did a Nirvana cover and it was awesome. Yeah, as long as we're all, that's the thing. When he wiped out trillions from the stock market, I thought, holy shit, he might even piss off the wealthy people enough to start a revolt. Gotta go. Peace out, family. Bandito, good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, Hunter is right. It just went through today. It's supposed to take effect. But again, what that bill is focused on is if you got married and you're a woman, you change your last name, you're going to have a hard time registering to vote. If you don't have your birth certificate or passport, I put some links down below, the big issues with this stuff and who's going to be affected. Again, it's just like the drug war. It's a war on black people, the counterculture, women. This is, again, class war, folks. All right, I got to go too. So thank you guys for stopping by. I'll see you tomorrow. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll meet back here tomorrow. And we'll talk some more. Hopefully we'll have some better news. There's something funny to talk about. Solus, good to see you. Solus, let's play some Fortnite. Let's play some Fortnite later. So yeah, if you change it back to your maiden name, then you're good. If not, you also have to have more documentation. You have to have a marriage certificate or something else with the name change. That's what I mean. It's like they're really making it so much more complex to vote. Where I've always said, if you want to be the party of having Americans vote, you know what you do? You make the second Tuesday in November a federal holiday, paid time off. And then you fucking work out these kinks. But nobody will touch that. They want you to work and forget to vote or not show up, or they want to make it illegal for you to get water or food in line. Meanwhile, Elon Musk will pay people to fucking show up and vote. Jesus Christ. Hunter, have a nice day. Nuclear assassin. Thank you for stopping by. Yep, it is, CJ. All right, guys, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Much love, much respect. Peace.